Welcome back, YouTube. And for those who do not know me, hello. My name is Noah, and on this channel we talk about death, true crimes, haunted people, places, and things, spiritual reparations, and how we can fuck around and find out. If you're not subscribed here, bestie, subscribe. What are you doing? You're watching the content. You're enjoying it. Subscribe, turn your notification bell on. And if you're not following me over on TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook, follow me there as well. Now, I asked and y'all gave me locations that y'all wanted me to do a deep dive into that are portals. So on today's episode, we will be exploring another portal location, and that is the great state of Arizona. True story, I lived in Arizona, and I lived in Phoenix, Tempe to be exact, Glendale, and other situations. And I didn't really pick up on any spiritual energy there, but that's only because I wasn't spiritual. This was every bit of 12, maybe even 13 years ago. So I wasn't in my spiritual bag. I was a spiritual being, meaning that I was not running to churches pretending to be something I wasn't, but I wasn't who I was now. I was a young mom and wife just trying to survive. Okay. And I never picked up on the energy because I wasn't trying to, which in most cases I'm not trying to, but I was not as open as I am now. And I didn't feel anything in the city of Phoenix. But I'm starting to learn that a lot of the hauntings, the vortexes, the portal locations without Arizona are not directly in Phoenix. They are in the Sedonas and the smaller towns, the outskirts. So today we will be watching some TikToks that went viral about the state of Arizona. And as always, I will be tagging the creators down below. This first clip comes from an account called Urban America Horror, and it is a video explaining the spirit of Kokopelli. And it is something that the natives of a couple of different states, including Arizona, warns us about, even though it may be a blessing to them. Just take a look.
If you see this symbol in Utah, New Mexico, or Arizona, leave immediately. Hello, my name is Kokopelli. I come from the Hopi tribe, and am mostly known for all the good I bring to the world. But many don't know about the darkness. I am known as the god of fertility, meaning I bring life into the world. And my influence is plastered all over the Four Corners area. I travel village to village, playing my flute and planting seeds along the way. When I come near civilization, many people are drawn and hypnotized by my music and begin to dance, as they believe I arrive to bring the spring season. And while this seems positive, they will quickly find out what else I bring to the world. Being the deity of fertility and a trickster, I also plant seeds in the women of the village. For this reason, many of the men and women started to fear me and put markings on the cliffs in the areas I travel through to warn the people. So if you're ever in the Four Corners area and see this symbol, remember.
Okay. Y'all know what's so crazy is that the houses out here, some of the houses that were built in the early 2000s put that same symbol of the Kokopelli as a house decoration. Like, they will put metal, like little, I don't even know what they're called, but they're at the top of the house. Okay? The best way that I can explain the Kokopelli is like a mixture between Oshun and Ilegua. Okay? Goddess of fertility, all things good, but also has a dark side. Y'all be playing in that deity's face a little too much. That spirit's face, let me correct myself. And then Ilegua, who has that trickster energy. Y'all, if you ever buy a house in the desert, because Arizona is that, and so is Nevada, because I live in Nevada and I've seen this symbol of the Kokopelli on houses that were developed in the early 2000s, and you can tell that it was a part of the house because it is metal and is screwed into or like drilled into, like, I don't even know how to explain it. I hope I can find it again so I could take a picture and put it in here. But it's colonization at its best because the people that live in these houses are not natives. This next clip comes from our friends over at the Paranormal Files. I absolutely love this guy's content on TikTok, the podcast. It's just is chef's kiss, and we featured him several times on the channel. So if you have not already, please go follow the Paranormal Files. They have a podcast if you like to listen to things as you clean, work, whatever. But it is a video of a hotel called the Hotel Pioneer that burned down, and they accused somebody of doing it. And then years later, not only is it haunted, but the man has been all but exonerated. Just take a look.
The people who built this hotel said it was fireproof, but on December 20th, 1970, the hotel caught fire. And in the resulting blaze, 29 people would die. I'd never heard about this, so let's talk about it. So right here is, or was, the Pioneer Hotel in Tucson, Arizona. The hotel was opened in 1929 and was the center of the city's business district. And this property catered to the social elite in town. In fact, in the mid-20th century, two owners of a large department store in Tucson lived in the penthouses at the top of the hotel. But shortly after midnight on December 20th, 1970, a fire started on the upper floors of the hotel. And almost immediately, smoke began to fill the hallways and the fire ripped through the hotel. The Tucson Fire Department tried their best to get people out, but it was too late. After the fire, a room clerk stated that he saw a flame burst through the elevator shaft all the way to the top. And even though firemen begged and pleaded for people not to jump from the flames down to the ground, they still did. In fact, this is a quote from a witness I'm going to read you. People were jumping from the windows and splattering on the sidewalk. It was awful. Firemen were screaming to people through their horns to stay on the floors for oxygen. Witnesses would state that they saw people jumping lit up by the floodlights from the 10th floor and the roof to their deaths. But how did this fire start? Now this is where it gets interesting. So eventually 16-year-old Lewis C. Taylor was arrested and convicted of arson. This was after a fire investigator hired by the state of Arizona concluded that the fire was most likely started by a young black man. The trial was extremely mishandled, so much evidence that would not fly nowadays. But eventually Lewis was convicted by an all-white jury. In 2013, though, new evidence was presented that showed that the fire may not have been started by arson after all. And eventually Lewis was released from prison. Now, modern investigators with modern technology have analyzed all the evidence, and even to this day, they have no clue how the fire started. Lewis has always claimed that he was innocent and in fact stated that he ran room to room trying to alert people about the flames in an attempt to save lives. So, 29 people dead in one of America's most infamous hotel fires. And still, so much mystery. I'm really curious to see if one day we'll ever have some sort of an answer on this. Oh yeah, and they converted the hotel into office buildings after this all went down. It's still standing in Tucson, Arizona, and let me tell you, it's known to be one of the most haunted spots in the city. Go figure. Also, if you want to hear more true crime stories, listen to my wife and I's podcast, Murder in America, available on all streaming platforms.
Listen, my heart breaks and cry out for my people who just lived in a time and era where just because of what you look like, you were automatically accused. Because for the treatment that this man received just to be proven innocent later, he could have just saved himself. Forget knocking door to door, because they treated him as if he did this. And now it's a big mystery how this fire started. Can we talk about the racism that went into convicting this person? And then on top of that, the ground that it stands on, I know it's just a spiritual hub. People jumping to their death. I cannot. This next clip comes again from the Paranormal Files, and he is showing us a scary attraction. It's supposed to be just a scary attraction in Tucson, Arizona, that's actually haunted as hell. I'm gonna just let y'all watch the clip.
Do you believe in ghosts? Well, some say that the well-known attraction Slaughterhouse, Tucson, is actually haunted.
The slaughterhouse was a 1950s meatpacking plant where thousands of animals were butchered. Legend has it many humans as well as animals have died here.
Some kids being thrown in a meat grinder.
Is that her? Is that Teresa?
How many people do you think have been scratched in there?
Maybe 30 to 50 easily. I don't know what's happening here, but I don't want to be up here anymore.
So he murdered his daughters, turned them into meat, and sold the meat.
He did. But Post Malone right here got scared shitless and ran right down these stairs and out of the building and did not want to come in. We couldn't keep anyone in here longer than a night. The actors are terrified themselves.
It feels bad in here. Bro, there's 3. It's a claw mark, bro.
Whatever's here is hurting people, and it's not fucking friendly.
You still in there? There is a musical instrument back there that is playing by itself right now.
Sounded like an animal was just in there.
That was me.
He's here. I feel like I need to get out of this right now. They'll come out and they'll have a scratch on their arm, back, stomach, even their neck. It can get pretty scary in here.
Setting up a haunted attraction in a slaughterhouse and in a place that is said to have slaughtered actual human beings is diabolically crazy. Listen, I don't blame the workers that quit because I would have put in my 2-minute notice as soon as I started getting scratches or as soon as my antennas went off to tell me something else is here. This next clip comes from an account called Mr. Dark, and it is explaining the Superstition Mountains. I've heard of them, and I'm going to give you my opinion afterwards. Just listen.
The Superstition Mountains are known for their horrific stories and strange disappearances. Over 600 documented deaths have occurred in these mountains, many of which were explorers searching for a significant lost treasure. In the early 1800s, the Indian Peralta family discovered a very rich gold deposit, but shortly after, were massacred by Native Americans. Only one family member survived, but after many years, nobody could locate the family's remains or the gold mine location. That was until Jacob Waltz found the location and stashed huge amounts of gold within the Superstition Mountains. To this day, his stash has never been discovered. It is said that the Dutchman's hidden gold is cursed, which can possibly hold truth due to the enormous number of explorers who have tried to find his treasure and ended up staying within the Superstition Mountains forever. Missing people and ghost stories are not the only strange thing happening within these mountains. There has been many reports from explorers claiming they were being hunted by large creatures and strange lights in the sky.
Yeah, no. No. I can't. I'm sick. Because ain't no way that 600 deaths around a mountain. And I literally researched this mountain a little bit too far. I went down a rabbit hole. And people that live around this mountain says that it is a haunted ass portal. They don't even be out in the mountains the way that you would think they would, seeing how they live very close or in the middle of them. Or like, not even in the middle of them, but like near them. Absolutely not. This next clip comes from an account called Parahan. And it's a story that someone sent into him about living out in them Superstition Mountains and how a dream came to fruition for her literally.
There was this woman named Eve. Now, Eve lived in Arizona near the Superstition Mountains. And she had heard rumors of there being this cave system out there, but she never could find it. She had hiked this area many times looking for it, but never found it. She said that one night she happened to be in her house and she was watching TV, and all of a sudden she got this sudden urge to go outside. And she said she couldn't explain it, but she felt like something wanted her to go outside. So she finds herself walking out the door and going to the front of her driveway. She looks up, and up in the sky, she sees this bright glowing light that is hovering above her. She said the next thing she knows, she is having like pieces of memories of going through like a cave system, kind of getting pulled and dragged through these caves. But she said she couldn't see who was doing it or anything else, just that she was being pulled through like a cave. She wakes up in her bed and like thinks, wow, man, that was like really crazy. Like, what just happened? And she thought it was a dream until she realizes she has all these bruises and scrapes, like she had really been dragged through a cave. So she said this kept happening like on a regular basis, and she could not figure out what was going on. Well, one day she gets a call from a friend who's like, hey, I found those caves out in, the Superstition Mountains. Like, do you want to go and check them out? So she goes with her friend, and
they hike out to these caves. And they find a cave and they end up going through it. Well, the crazy thing was, she was like leading her friend through this cave system and is like, you know, we need to turn left here. We need to go right here. And her friend's like, how do you know where to go? Like, have you been through this cave before? And she's like, I don't know. It's like a weird feeling like I've been here before and I know where to go. And she would say, like, we go here and then we go here. And it'll take us out to this big chamber with, you know, stalactites and stalagmites. And so, like, they would keep coming out to these really cool places in the cave. Well, she said all of a sudden they came out to this big, like, opening in the cave system, like a big room. And there was, like, some kind of drawings on the wall, like petroglyphs. And she said they were all these, like, weird looking beings. And she said instantly she had flashbacks of what had happened to her when she would feel like she was getting pulled through the cave. She now seen the faces of these things. They were these reptilian humanoids with green scaly skin, like long claws, sharp teeth, and sort of a face that looked like a lizard. And she remembered them taking her through the caves, taking her to this place, and hooking her up to some kind of machines and, like, doing something. So she's, like, really bothered and freaking out. So she tells her friend, like, I need to get out of here now. So she starts, like, running out of this cave, and she said she could hear what sounded like stuff scurrying through the caves behind them. And she could hear, like, these loud screeches and screams coming from within the cave. And finally she made it out. And she said, like, after that she knew, like, what had happened to her when she was seeing those lights and feeling like she was going through the caves.
Yeah, she was trying to fuck around and find out. I'm sorry. Because everything doesn't need to be done for the plot twist. Ain't no way I've been having dreams about these caves and somebody can come and say, hey, I'm going to take you to these caves, and I'm going. No. Why are we doing this? Why are we willingly FAFOing? Absolutely not. This next creator goes by the handle Haunted TikToks, and it's of a podcast of two women who went to a little town called Felicity Town, Arizona. This stressed me out because why?
We're in the middle of the desert and we look and there's just like this staircase that goes to nowhere.
Nothing?
And like I see it and
in the
Kim
middle of the desert.
I see it and Kim sees it and we're both like, we get this really bad, weird feeling and we're like, we need to go back and like find out what that is.
It's like an 8-mile city called Felicity and only a population of 7 or something like that.
This is in Arizona?
This is in Arizona.
And this really rich guy, he's a
Rothschild.
A Rothschild. He bought this town of Felicity and named it after his wife, Felicity.
Wait, is this real?
Who we think we ran into.
Can we make sure that this is real? They offer tours of this place.
Oh, we did a tour. It was
we did a
horrifying.
Why?
They tried to get us into this. They put us in this pyramid.
And told us to make a wish.
They tried to get us in the center of the pyramid, in the center of the thing, put our foot in the middle, save this thing and make a wish and then sign a contract. And I was like, and we were like, I'm not doing that. And she was like, well, it's the only part of the tour you have to do.
And they go
to do the tour. And that's when we said, we don't want to do the tour anymore. We're going to leave. And she was pissed.
Let me get this straight. A Rothschild owns a town out in the middle of nowhere in the desert that looks like the worst episode or movie of Signs. Takes you on a tour, make you put your foot in the middle of some pyramid and make a wish. I'm cool, baby. I'm cool. This next creator goes under the handle Let Them Eat This, and she's exploring a town called Jerome, Arizona, and it's haunted for all of the reasons that you'll see in just a second, because what?
One of the most haunted cities in America is Jerome, Arizona, and not for the reason you think. This was a mining town and a lot of stuff happened, but this building was the birthing center and the morgue. And this was used to get rid of all the bodies, and guess what they used it for? To make the streets and the sidewalks of Jerome. When you walk here, you're actually walking on the departed, and these are the old tunnel systems that were used to get around. There's a lot of stories in this town and tons of experiences for many.
This legitimately stressed me out. Because what do you mean they cremated the bodies and made it sidewalks and stairs? Why would you ever desecrate a human body in this? I won't be visiting. I'm okay. I'm cool. Y'all can have that shit down there in Jerome. This next creator goes by the handle of Hollow Hollis, and he is explaining Sedona's portals and vortexes, and it's pretty cool. Just listen.
Arizona's trippiest desert is actually home to America's biggest positive vortex. For starters, this isn't a triangle like the rest we're going to be talking about in this series. However, it is a hot spot for a lot of psychic energy. Parts of the desert are known to have portals in them as well as enhance one's consciousness. But a big reason why a lot of tourists are drawn to Sedona is because it's said to induce a lot of awakenings. But a very crazy thing that happens in Sedona in the canyons is that the energy is so strong and so vibrant, it causes every natural thing around, even plants, to twist. Like, I'm not kidding, the trees literally grow in spiral. I don't know what it is, but something about this just like creeps me out, dude. Indigenous tribes have long regarded the city as sacred, going back thousands of years. It's home of the Yavapai Apache, who hold spring ceremonies every year at Boynton Canyon. It's where they believe the Great Spirit Mother gave birth to the human race. Yogis, mediums, shamans all have reported escaping into a higher consciousness just by being in the presence of this environment. Some even saying the breakthrough to the other side just came easy, as everything that they felt was amplified through the vortex. Apparently all of Sedona is an amplifier, so don't go there in a bad mood. But if you're someone looking to go visit Sedona, Arizona, or if you're planning a trip there, the 4 main places to go are Bell Rock, Cathedral Rock, Airport Mesa, and Boynton Canyon. After researching this for weeks, I'm definitely planning a trip for myself. But if you found this video interesting, go ahead and click the playlist down below to see all the other triangles around the world and what they mean.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. This is one part of Arizona that I am dying to visit. I actually thought about hosting a retreat there because it's easier to get to Sedona, Arizona than it is to Bali, which I still have a couple of spots left for. And if you're interested, you are more than welcome to book for our spiritual trip. But Sedona, baby, has been on my hit list for years. Comment down below if you would like to see that retreat. This next creator goes underneath the handle of Keela or Kayla. I'm not sure how she pronounces it, but she is talking about how there is a secret UFO base in Sedona. Now, this is not scaring me because Arizona is a portal and I have a UFO base up the street, but just listen to what she says and where she gets her sources from.
Is there a UFO base hiding in this mountain called Secret Mountain? That's what Danny Sheehan says. He's a UFO activist and a Harvard law graduate who went on a podcast recently and said he knows the location of 2 secret UFO bases. One of them, he's not disclosing the location. The other one is near Sedona, Arizona, in this mountain called Secret Mountain. I shit you not, that's the name of it. Hear me out. Yes, I know a 79-year-old Harvard law graduate is probably not the best place for UFO information, but Danny is a bit different. He's been a social activist and a UFO activist for the past 30 to 40 years. In this podcast, Danny goes on to describe a place called Secret Mountain Wilderness, that there is a UFO base and a U.S. military base near it to monitor the UFOs or the aliens or whatever is going in and out of this mountain in this remote location. And the more I look into this mountain, Danny might be onto something with this one because it's suspicious as shit. There is an Air Force base about 100 miles away and a National Guard base in Belmont about 40 miles away. Hear me out. Since 1995, there have been over 5,000 reported UFO sightings in Arizona. They rank number 6 in the country. And then for missing people, they rank number 2. And that's interesting because this is the same state that Travis Walton was abducted from, and he was abducted about 80 miles away from this mountain. No shit. That's a crazy story. Let me know if you want to hear it.
Again, this does not scare me. I live up the street from a UFO base, and it would only make sense in my head, in my Nevadan head, to think that they would hide a UFO base in Sedona. It's literally a vortex. It's a vortex. And in the climate that we're in now, where we are acknowledging aliens, UFOs, what have you, it only makes sense. And I kind of believe her. I'm sorry. I mean, a Harvard law graduate and a 40-year veteran in the game is not going to give you bullshit. He was a whistleblower before whistleblowing was even cool. This next creator goes under the handle of Carl Crusher, and he's stitching Kayla, or Keela, however she pronounces it. And he's explaining a little bit more about why what she said is probably true.
Is there a UFO base hiding in this mountain called Secret Mountain? That's what Danny Sheehan says. He's a UFO activist.
Buckle up, Buttercup. Do you want to know where a UFO is hiding in a secret base underground, according to UFO insider Danny Sheehan? Secret Mountain, Sedona, Arizona. Here's Secret Mountain, but there's more. Secret Mountain is a part of Secret Canyon, which is the exact location of Bradshaw Ranch. Have you ever heard of Bradshaw Ranch before? I worked with Brandon Fugel on the History Channel, and we came up with a whole spin-off show called Beyond Skinwalker Ranch. And one of the most popular episodes of that entire show, they went to Bradshaw Ranch, which is where this UFO is supposed to be hiding underground. You can watch the episode on the History Channel on Beyond Skinwalker Ranch. It says investigators Andy Bustamante and Paul Beeben investigate Bradshaw Ranch in Sedona, Arizona, and encountered dangerous radiation levels, a strange temperature anomaly, and a UAP. So check that out. There's been other shows and books about this place. But this is where Danny Sheehan is talking about, Bradshaw Ranch. This is Secret Canyon in the Secret Mountain range of Sedona, Arizona, which is right down here. This is the spot. There's another one hiding underground in Nevada, 80 miles north of Area 51. We did a whole episode, and I've got a whole playlist of the behind the scenes for Beyond Skinwalker Ranch, where we tried to communicate with this weird craft or UFO underneath the mountain in Area 51 territory at a place called Mount Wilson Ranch. And we did a whole episode there. I've got a whole playlist on my YouTube channel. The whole Beyond Skinwalker Ranch team came, and we tried to isolate and communicate with this thing underground with lasers and ultra low frequencies, and it actually communicated back. Something is there over 150 feet down that's shaped like a giant arrowhead, and it's resonating ultra low frequencies. I've got an entire behind the scenes documentary series about it with like over 15 episodes.
Again, does not scare me. You know you are used to living in a portal location when something like this does not make you fret. Okay? Near the Sedona Mountains, in a vortex of positive energy, of healing. I'm not worried. I don't even think the aliens are really trying to commingle. They're just looking at us like they just pass us by, right? But at the end of the day, these things are real. And like I said before, I feel like this would only be the perfect place to hide them. Okay, now we're getting into the hardcore essence of why I know Arizona is a portal. The next creator is called Philip Ziba, and he did a deep dive on the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics findings that are in the Grand Canyon. I'm going to let y'all watch this and give y'all my opinion afterwards.
Ancient Egyptian tombs inside the Grand Canyon? That's what an explorer found right before the government closed the area off from the public. Way back in 1909, the Arizona Gazette reported a story of a miner, G.E. Kincaid, looking for gold in the Grand Canyon. While journeying down the river, he came across what looked like steps carved into the canyon side, so he decides to check it out. The steps, he claimed, were perfectly carved, not a natural formation, and as he approached the top, he came across a man-made cave entrance, which do exist all around the Grand Canyon, but this one was different. He went inside, turned on his light, light and saw tunnels chiseled with perfect architecture and more branching paths deeper inside. He kept going until he comes across an enormous room several hundred feet long. In the middle stood a giant statue of what looked like Buddha, holding lotus flowers in each hand. Now, Buddha has nothing to do with ancient Egypt, which actually makes this more of a mind trip, but we're getting there, I promise. This looks like it was an ancient underground city, which actually exists all around the world in places like Derinkuyu in Turkey. Kincaid was amped. This gotta be the discovery of the century, so of course he leaves and asks for funding to explore more from the Smithsonian, the world-leading museum research and education institute, the gatekeeper of archaeological findings, made by the US government, who gladly agree. They send a team of scientists and miners led by S.A. Jordan to fully excavate this mind-blowing discovery. With this team backing the expedition, Kincaid goes back to the caves and realized he barely scratched the surface. He left extremely detailed journal entries describing the whole excavation, with hallways up to 12 feet wide and large oval doorways throughout the underground complex. During this excavation, they find full-size rooms which appear to have been made for dining, winding halls with detailed architecture, and artifacts like pottery, urns, and to their surprise, copper tools and swords, along with rooms built for metalwork. All signs of an ancient civilization far more advanced than what should have been here at the time. But then they find this: Egyptian hieroglyphs carved and painted on the walls and stone tablets with similar hieroglyphs engraved. And then finally what appeared to be a crypt filled with little cubby holes in the walls, each containing mummies of giant humanoids, some even being reported as reptilian looking. Yeah, Egyptian tombs in the Grand Canyon. They call this complex the Citadel, and by the end of their expedition, hundreds of rooms were discovered, estimated to house up to 50,000 people. They determined that, of course, this must be the remains of an advanced civilization that were here before the natives, and somehow brought the knowledge of the ancient Egyptians from the other side of the world into the Americas. G.E. Kincaid and S.A. Jordan presented their Egyptian hypothesis to the Smithsonian, who obviously did not like the sound of that and denied further excavation. Egyptian hieroglyphs spotted outside of Egypt? Absolute nonsense, right? Maybe, but this isn't the only time that such a claim was made, like the Gosford hieroglyphs carved into rock in Australia, which look almost identical to that of the Egyptians. It's hard to tell exactly how old they are, but of course they're labeled a hoax. Someone else carved them here a few years ago to trick the world. Or the written language of the Mi'kmaq, a Native American tribe that lived along the Atlantic coast, which shares a baffling number of similarities with Egyptian hieroglyphs, two cultures that allegedly had no contact among each other. This one was just a coincidence, of course, just like the Fuente Magna bowl found in Bolivia with Proto-Sumerian cuneiform script writing on it. That's ancient Mesopotamian writing uncovered in South America. So artifacts of ancient Middle Eastern civilizations found in the Americas have happened, but we just ignore them. To this day, the Smithsonian denies this expedition in the Grand Canyon ever happened, and the stories of the explorers are of course deemed a hoax. So is any of this real? The native indigenous people seem to think so. Native American tribes like the Navajo, Zuni, Acoma Pueblo have legends of a race that existed there before them, even citing the Grand Canyon specifically as the place where the first people emerged from. These myths all speak of either a race of reptilians, yes, we're in lizard people territory now, or giants that civilized the area, building underground cities to protect themselves. The Hopi tribe even have a story about a sky god who, after a series of cataclysms, emerged from a moving star and took the tribe to underground caves in the Grand Canyon region to protect them. The Havasupai people believe the canyon is the home of the Supai, the spirit of their ancestors. The Paiute culture got the legend of the Havmusubs, who also lived in an underground city and had silver tubes that shot lightning that could end a man's life, and silver canoes in the sky, which all line up perfectly with the flood myths, not to mention UFO sightings, around the world where godlike beings descend from the sky and gift civilization to humanity. And is exactly why the Smithsonian cringes at the thought of admitting to this, because it would imply that cultures like the ancient Egyptians had overseas contact with the Americas, completely destroying their current narrative of isolationism, which states that groups of humans evolved independently of each other all around the world. Today, this section of the Grand Canyon has some interesting official names for the formations found here, like the Tower of Set, Horus, Isis Temple, Ra, the Cheops Pyramid, all Egyptian names, and these formations have the weirdest, most interesting shapes, unlike those found in any other canyon. Alright, enough yapping. Where is this cave, and can't we just go to it today to prove this once and for all? Really thought it was that easy, huh? The exact area where the Citadel would be found has, of course, been marked off limits by the government. The Grand Canyon has hundreds of man-made caves all over it that are confirmed real, with only 30 that have been officially mapped out, some of which are sealed with steel gates for safety. When amateur explorers tried checking out the region, planes and helicopters would appear out of nowhere over areas designated as no-fly zones, some claiming they can even spot remnants of pyramids and other ancient structures in the cliffs of the canyon, implying the Grand Canyon may actually be the site of a bustling ancient city. Rumors of ancient Egyptian remains in underground cities in the Grand Canyon. Government closes the area off, and then planes and drones are found scouting the area. Are they hiding something from us, or am I just gonna get stitched into another Mr. Know-It-All debunking video?
I've heard many a times that ancient Egypt, or a civilization very much so similar, existed in the United States. Some even saying that Egypt is the United States. Okay, just hear me out. I know it sounds crazy, but you have to think about that time in geography when you were in the 7th grade and they taught us that the continents drifted. And it makes sense that this ancient civilization would have taken refuge underground. Do y'all know how hot it is in Phoenix, in Arizona? We here in Nevada get up to 120 degrees. And they're about 5 to 6, maybe sometimes on a bad summer day, up to 10 degrees hotter than us. Do you catch what I'm putting down? And it's just so crazy. Like, this man made this discovery like so long ago. And then the Smithsonian, which I used to work for back in the day, my college days, the Smithsonian shut it down and snatched the operation right out of his hand. And now we're not even allowed to explore over there. The math is not mathing, but the math is. Because if 1 + 1 is 2, 2 + 2 is 4, then what the fuck is this? There is large chunks of history that has been changed, including the facts about the transatlantic slave trade. I recently just went to the Real Kaya's event, and there was a woman who just knew she came from Africa, or people came from Africa, and she had a test done, like an extensive, beyond 23andMe, beyond Ancestry, like mitochondrial test done on her, and she was 100% Native American, and she looked like, I can't say she looked like me. I can't, because obviously I'm fair-skinned. I don't know why people think I have a white parent. I don't. I just came out this way. My mom is deep chocolate, but she was the most beautiful deep chocolate sister I ever seen. And she was 100% Native American. What'd that tell you? This next creator goes under the handle of Nelly, and she has a book that is pointing out the Egyptian statues that look very similar to statues that are in the middle of the desert. Just take a look.
Very, very old, and by 100,000 years, because if the waters had to go and they had to recede at one point from the Great Deluge, remember that. This is Sekhmet. This is also Sekhmet in the rocks in Sedona. We have Horus. Horus right here, the son of Isis and Osiris. And here is the weathered version of Horus in the rocks in Sedona. Anubis, the most recent relics of him in Kemet. And Anubis here in Sedona. Ma'at, the goddess of truth and order. This is her right here. You can even see the feather. Hathor, the mother goddess Hathor. This is her here in these rocks. This is one of the most, one of my favorites. This is Akhenaten. Akhenaten here, ancient Kemet. Akhenaten here. You listen. We all know Akhenaten for that nose and them lips. Baby, that nose and them lips is right here. Okay? And this is in Sedona, you guys. If you get an opportunity to visit Arizona, please come visit Arizona, visit Sedona. This is Thoth, the god of wisdom. He is an avian, a bird being. And look at all of these bird-like statues in Sedona. Like, this is just so many, there have been so many secrets kept from us, and we deserve to know the truth. So this is the book, Sedona, Faces in the Rocks, Ancient Egypt, found in Sedona. Peace and love.
What do y'all think? Some of these statues look eerily like the statues found in ancient Egypt, right? And it's like coincidence. Y'all know what I say on this channel about coincidences. I think the fuck not. Something is amiss, and I just can't wait for the government to just come out and say it. I can't wait for it to be so obvious that they're just like, oh, we can't ignore it, we can't hide it, just like they did with the UFOs, the aliens, and everything else. This last video belongs to a user named Tegan, and she camped out in Sedona and happened to wake up the next morning after a cozy night of chilling and vibing and found this around their campsite.
Something really weird happened while we were camping in Sedona a couple months ago. This is where we were camped, a really beautiful campsite surrounded by a bunch of rocks, and apparently we were camped on one of Sedona's vortexes. You may be wondering, what is a vortex and why does Sedona have vortexes? Well, I could do a whole nother video on that one, so I mean you're just gonna have to look it up. This was us the night before, chilling, watching the full moon rise. It was really beautiful. And the next morning we woke up and these little circle things surrounded the whole entire car. Not even kidding you, they were like a foot away from the tire. And they were not there when we went to bed or when we showed up at the campsite the night before. And no, it's not the imprint from one of our shoes. We checked everything that we put on the ground and nothing had this mark. And look, this one's kind of raised. Like, what the heck? Some people said aliens. Some people said witches. And some people said it was just the vortex. What do you think?
I think it was just the vortex. Okay? This place is so spiritually charged. Okay? Now, if I were to ever host in Sedona, we wouldn't be out in a camper. We would be glamping. Like, not even glamping. They have some of the most beautiful retreats there. So we would definitely not be out and open and just whatever, right? But whenever you are in the middle of the desert is one of the most spiritually active places, not just in Sedona. I know people that have gone out into the desert outside of Las Vegas to do rituals. It's very, very powerful. So whenever you're camping in a vortex, an active vortex, you will feel energy and see things that you've never seen before. But I'm not out there in the middle of the night either. And I don't plan on being. We'll be meditating in the daytime, okay, with a tour guide, making sure we don't fuck around and find out. That is all for today, YouTube. And if you would like me to cover another portal location, person, place, thing, situationship, true crime story, please leave it down below. My assistant and I will be putting more posts on my community page so that you guys can give me your recommendations, because so far the recommendations have been fire and I've truly enjoyed content researching for them. And if you made it to the end of this video, please let me know if you would be interested in a spiritual retreat in Sedona, because I'm dead ass serious. Because if y'all don't go with me, I'm still going. I'm trying to plan for next year. And give people enough time to save or whatever. Like I said, it's easier to get there than it is to get to Bali. So if you're interested, comment down below. Y'all do good, be good, stay safe.